Okay, so I want you to just take a second. Picture the biggest, uh, the most pivotal change that's ever happened in your life. I mean, really try to visualize it.
Right. And when you look back at that exact moment, what does it sound like?
I'm guessing for most people, they're picturing a movie trailer moment.
Exactly. The cinematic expectation. You think the soundtrack needs to swell so you know the big plot point is happening.
Yeah, we imagine volume. We imagine sirens or a moving truck, maybe a huge breakup in a rainy parking lot. We are, conditioned to expect that when life changes. It announces itself.
It has to be loud. We want that external validation that, yep, okay, things are different now.
But today we're doing a deep dive into a source that argues the exact opposite. We're looking at this text. It's just titled 4.
Mm.
It's a strange one. Not really an article, not quite a poem.
It's this dense philosophical take on what happens when the shift isn't loud at all. It calls it the quiet recalibration.
And this is something that I think is going to hit home for a lot of people. For anyone who feels like they're in a transition but can't point to one single event that caused it.
You're waiting for the siren, but the siren just isn't coming.
The whole premise is fascinating. It's about those times when your external life, your calendar, your commute, your job, it all looks exactly the same as it did yesterday. But internally.
Oh, internally, the entire structure of your reality has been gutted and renovated overnight.
And the text, it opens with this image that just sets the tone perfectly. It says, no sirens, no ceremony.
Just physics rewriting itself mid-step.
Physics rewriting itself mid-step. I mean, what a visceral description. It's not that you stopped walking.
No, it's that the laws of gravity governing your walk changed while your foot was still in the air.
And that creates this very specific kind of disorientation. The text says, forward pull turns sideways. Urgency gains mass.
It's a change in density, not location. You aren't doing different things, but the weight of doing them has completely altered.
It brings up this feeling that I honestly think is becoming an epidemic. It says momentum exists, but direction
Stops volunteering answers.
yes, you're still moving, you're still productive, but that internal compass that usually screams, go north,
Yeah.
just goes quiet.
It stops volunteering, and that's the key. It doesn't mean there isn't a direction. It just means it's no longer obvious. It's not being spoon-fed to you anymore.
Right, by society or your own, youthful ambition.
The source is basically mapping the migration from innocence, where things are loud and clear, to resilience, where things are quiet, heavy, and, well, real.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the 4 big insights from this text. And I want to be clear, this isn't a 5 steps to crush your goals kind of thing.
No, definitely not. If you're looking for a life hack, this isn't it. This is more about understanding the architecture of your own maturity.
We're going to look at 4 shifts. First, moving from wanting instructions to just accepting ownership.
Second, how to deal with pain that, refuses to be optimized.
Third, the terrifying cost of really, truly caring about something. And then finally, how our dreams change when we realize just how fragile everything is.
It's a heavy list, I know, but I promise it explains a lot.
Okay, let's get into the first insight. The text calls this section explanation without instruction. And right away, this goes after a very modern addiction we all have.
The addiction to data, the belief that if we just have enough information, the right choice will just appear like a pop-up.
The text describes it so painfully well. It says, knowledge stacks cleanly, models converge, causes get named. It's like a consultant's dream.
You have the spreadsheets, the pie charts, the analysis.
But then it just drops the hammer. None of it issues commands.
And that's the disconnect, right? We live in the information age, so we think information equals instruction. We think if I just analyze this enough, the answer will become automatic.
But the text is saying that's a trap.
A massive trap. You can understand a situation perfectly, know exactly why your industry is failing or why you're unhappy, and that data will just sit there. It describes the problem, but it doesn't tell you what to do. It's passive.
There's this one metaphor in there that I found just really haunting. It says, understanding explains the cliff perfectly and still leaves the jump undecided.
Whoa.
And that is the core of this whole quiet recalibration. We mix up understanding with solving. If I understand why I'm anxious, I feel like I've solved it.
Right.
But the text argues understanding just gives you the geography. It tells you exactly how high the cliff is, the wind speed, all the jagged rocks at the bottom.
It gives you all the data.
All of it. But the act of jumping or turning around and walking away, that decision is still 100% on you. The understanding doesn't push.
And I think we want the data to push us so we don't have to be responsible for it.
That's it. If the data screams, do X, and I do X, and it fails, I can blame the data. But if the data just says, here's the situation, then I have to choose. Which brings us to the closing thought of this section, and it's a tough one. Truth arrives intact and silent, demanding ownership instead of applause.
Demanding ownership instead of applause. That's so backwards from how we treat an aha moment.
We treat it like a victory lap. Ah! I figured it out. High five.
But here, the aha moment isn't a celebration, it's a burden. Once you see the truth that a project isn't working or a friendship is over, you don't get applause for being smart. You get the heavy responsibility of owning that reality.
The truth just sits there waiting for you to pick it up. It's the difference between being a spectator in your life and being the driver.
Yes. The spectator cheers at the plot twist. The driver realizes the road just got icy and has to grip the wheel tighter. There's no audience in the car.
And that gripping of the wheel leads right into the second insight, which is all about how we handle that icy road.
Because our first instinct is always to find a shortcut, right?
Always. This section is called Pain as Non-Negotiable Input.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I am a sucker for productivity hacks. I love the idea that I can optimize my way out of feeling bad.
You and everyone else. We live in the era of the hack. We see discomfort as just an inefficiency in the system.
Right. If I'm stressed, I need a better workflow. If I'm sad, I need a better morning routine. I try to archive my feelings like emails.
But the text, it has no time for that. It says, discomfort refuses compression. Optimization fails. And then this line, which is so countercultural, suffering isn't a bug in the system, it's the signal.
That forces updates, no spreadsheet authorizes.
Yes.
That hits home. I mean, when we plan our lives, our spreadsheets, we schedule growth, happiness.
Well,
I never schedule a column for existential crisis.
nobody does, but the text is arguing those unauthorized updates are actually the most important ones. It completely rebrands suffering. We see it as an error message, system failure.
But here it's the signal.
It's the signal. It's the feedback telling you that the current version of you is no longer compatible with reality. An update is required.
So if you try to hack it or optimize it away, you're basically just muting the one thing that's trying to save you.
You're hitting ignore on a critical system update because it's inconvenient. You can't compress grief into a 3-day weekend so you can get back to work. The text says that friction is the point.
It reminds me of when people say, I just want to get over this. They want to fast forward through the messy part.
But you have to sit in it. In fact, the text is explicit. It says reflection only works after endurance.
That's a very strict order of operations. Endurance first, then reflection.
It is. Think about it. We're in the middle of a crisis, the house is on fire, and we're already trying to write the post-mortem report. What's the lesson here? What does this mean?
We're trying to think our way out of feeling it.
Exactly. It's an intellectual bypass. But the source says you can't process the data while you're still gathering it. You have to endure first. Survive the event, then you can understand it. The meaning comes later.
That's profound. It basically gives you permission to just survive for a while.
Right.
You don't have to be smart about your pain while you're in
You
it.
just have to let the update install. And updates, they take time.
This shift from optimizing to enduring, it really raises the stakes. And I think that leads perfectly into the third section, which applies this to our relationships. It's called attachment after innocence.
And this is where it gets really emotional. It starts with this trade-off. Connection survives, certainty doesn't.
That's a hard sell. I want the connection and the certainty. I want to have the relationship and know it's never going away.
Of course, that's the definition of innocence, right? We think love and connection come with guarantees. We see attachment as a shelter, safe.
And the quiet recalibration is that moment you realize the safety was, well, an illusion. The text says, caring sheds noise and gains cost awareness.
Cost awareness. It's such a cold economic term for emotion, but it's so accurate. It means you look at something you love, your partner, your kids, your work, and you are painfully aware of what it would cost to lose it.
The blindness is gone. You see the stakes. It says, desire stops cosplaying as harmless.
I love that phrasing. Cosplaying is harmless. Like before this shift, we think wanting things is just fun. It's light. I want that job. I want that person.
We think romance is a fairy tale.
It's harmless. But when you recalibrate, you realize that wanting something is opening yourself up to the devastation of losing it. Desire is dangerous. It's not a costume you can just take off.
There's a visual in here I want to talk about, meaning outgrows containers and leaks into restraint. What do you make of that?
The containers are the labels, I think. Friend, spouse, success. Safe little boxes with clear edges. But as you endure more, As the meaning of those connections gets bigger, it can't fit in the boxes anymore.
It spills over.
It spills over, it leaks. A relationship might get messier, less defined, but also more real. A career path stops looking like a simple ladder and starts looking like a maze, but it means more.
And then the kicker. Depth increases while safety illusions expire.
That's the whole deal right there. You can have the illusion of safety, or you can have depth. You really can't have both. To go deep with a person or a project, you have to admit there are no lifeguards.
It's basically saying, welcome to the deep end. The water is real, but you have to tread it yourself.
And that realization that there are no lifeguards, it drastically changes how we plan for the future. Which brings us to the final, and I think most empowering insight. Ambition under consequence.
This is the one that I think people might misread as pessimistic. It starts with, grandeur yields to resilience. Scale bows to stability.
Yeah, if you're 20, you hear that and think it means giving up. But I want grandeur. I want to take over the world. But from the perspective of this recalibration, it's not about giving up. It's about sustainability.
Grandeur is flashy, but it breaks easily. Resilience is quieter, but it lasts.
It's the difference between a massive house of cards that looks amazing on Instagram and a well-built cabin. The cabin isn't as flashy, but it survives the storm.
And the text says, rare disasters stop being hypothetical once fragility becomes legible.
Fragility becomes legible, meaning you can finally read it. Before the shift, disaster is something on the news. It happens to other people.
It's hypothetical.
But once you've gone through a recalibration, a layoff, a health scare, a loss, you can read the fragility in the system. You see the cracks everywhere. You realize how easily things can break.
And because you see those cracks, preparation replaces bravado.
Bravado is just acting like nothing can hurt you because you don't understand the risks. Preparation is knowing exactly what can hurt you and being ready for it. It's a shift from ego to competence.
And this all leads to the climax of the whole argument, the final line. Dreams don't shrink. Tolerance for collapse does.
I love this line. I think it's the most important sentence in the entire text.
Okay, break that down for us. Why is that distinction so critical?
Because the fear is that growing up just means settling. It means wanting less. Oh, I guess I'll stop trying. But the text says no. Your dreams, what you actually want to build or experience, they don't get smaller. The hunger is still there.
So the ambition is still there.
The ambition is totally intact. What shrinks is your tolerance for collapse. You are no longer willing to blow up your entire life to get there. You won't burn out or destroy your marriage or leverage your sanity for just a shot at the title.
So it's not that the ambition dies. It's that it gets smarter.
It gets grounded. When your tolerance for collapse is high, you bet the farm on every hand. You don't care if you crash and burn. When that tolerance shrinks, you still play the game, but you play it with safeguards. You value your own stability enough to protect it.
And that is the quiet recalibration.
That's it. It's not a retreat from the world. It's engaging with the world on terms you can actually sustain.
It really brings it all back to the beginning, doesn't it? Physics rewriting itself. It's a full system update.
It is. If we look at the whole arc we've covered, it's a clear progression.
Let's recap that journey. We start with realizing instructions aren't coming. The data explains the cliff, but we have to make the jump. We move from waiting for orders to accepting ownership.
Then pain. We stop trying to optimize it. We accept it as a signal, an input that demands endurance before we can even get to reflection.
Then connection. We trade the illusion of safety for the reality of cost-aware caring. We accept the risk because the depth is actually worth it.
And finally, ambition. We don't give up on our dreams, we just stop being reckless. We swap grandeur for resilience because we can finally read how fragile the world is. Success isn't worth a total collapse.
And all of this happens without a single siren going off. No ceremony.
And that's the so what for everyone listening. You might be walking around right now feeling different, heavier maybe, more serious. And you're wondering why nobody else notices or why there wasn't a party to mark the change.
It's because the physics changed internally. You've recalibrated. You're running a new operating system, but the hardware looks exactly the same.
Which explains why the old things don't satisfy you the same way. The gravity has altered. You're heavier, sure, but you're also harder to knock over.
You know, that actually sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
It feels heavier because you're more grounded. You aren't floating on those safety illusions anymore.
Exactly. You're finally walking on solid ground. And solid ground is hard, but it's where you can actually build something that lasts.
So I want to leave everyone with a final thought to chew on. We talked about how the sirens are gone, the alarms aren't ringing, the direction has stopped volunteering answers.
It's quiet out there.
So If the truth demands ownership, not applause, and if your tolerance for collapse has shrunk, here's the question. What creates your gravity now? If the world isn't pulling you forward with alarms and validation, what is the internal weight that keeps you moving?
That's the whole question. When the external push stops, the internal engine has to take over. And finding that engine, that's the whole point of the recalibration.
Sit with that silence for a bit. It's not empty. It's just waiting for you to rewrite the physics.
Yeah.
Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.